Mr. Schultz,
Here.
Mr. Whaley. He emailed he'll be out of town. Ms. Yandel.
Okay. We didn't hear from Mr. Freitas, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but
She may be.
I would say, if anybody replied directly to Quinn, she's been out today and yesterday, so they may be excused, and
Okay.
they didn't copy Alec and I.
All right, she may arrive as we go. Okay, first order of business is election of officers, which is a commission chair and vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Alan Griffiths to be Commission Chair and Robert Truca to be Commission Vice Chair.
We have a second for those?
I will second that.
No objections.
I have no objections.
Okay, good.
Can we have a vote on that, please?
Sure. In last year's election, you all voted with an aye. So if all in favor, say aye. It's
Oh, okay.
how we had done it traditionally.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 That passes.
Any opposed? No opposed? Okay. All right, any questions or comments on the minutes?
It's in order.
Nope. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. All right, we are then moving on to our first application, which is follow-up on 231 East Market Street.
So this was tabled on 11/16 of 2022. All items were passed at the November meeting except for one item, and that was the paint color. The commission asked to see a historic color palette before approval would happen. Just a little bit of background, this is a contributing structure in the downtown Sandusky Commercial Historic District. It was built around 1880. It's one of Sandusky's older buildings, and it's currently the site of the travel gallery. The original proposal, which based on feedback from the applicant, the green that was presented originally was not accurate to what the current palette that'll be shown tonight is. So if we could possibly see that palette, that'd be fantastic.
Is someone here who can show us that? Perfect. If you'd like to come up, just give us your name and who you represent.
My name is John Parker, and I'm the owner of the building at 231 East Market. And these are the new current, paint samples. This would be the body of the building, and this would be the trim color, pretty much like the windows are. It's not that hot color.
Okay. Any comments? Questions?
Does the building department feel it's in the guidelines?
I'm curious, did you find this in any historic color palette, or is it just a chosen?
It's close to a historic palette. We did look at historical. We thought the green was a little too deep for possibly the color, so it's close.
I mean, my first reaction is it's not overly bold like the original proposal was. It's a muted color. It looks like it's about the same, like lightness or darkness. I'm struggling for the words I want to use. As like the maroon that's out that we have approved before, and some of the other greens around town we've approved before.
Any questions, comments?
Do we have a way to check palette, or if not, then?
Yeah, it's not a strong recommendation. Like the guidelines say that they prefer, they lead us to a historic color palette. There's dozens of colors out there. And then the other ones that specifically use adjectives to describe color, say avoid bold colors that weren't used in the time frame. So, a muted green like that would have been used in the time frame.
I would just comment, I think it's certainly different from the image we received initially, so I'm minded to approve it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks great, will look great. have thought about kind of the process of us even approving colors and telling a building owner, business owner, what to do with their building when it's clearly in taste. In terms of it's not hot pink, right? Or it's not just something super bold. Because the building has been sitting there through some pretty serious weather, since we last met. And so, I'm sensitive, I think we all are, to leaving a building in a state of not full repair. Of course, none of us can predict the weather, but I feel like it's kind of unfair to the building owners. So, I think we should find a better way to approve colors in the future for the community and also for ourselves, right? We all have limited time, and I think we can all agree we're all here with the best intent. So, in terms of your colors, sir, I think it looks great. Thanks for what you're doing to the building, and that's my 2 cents.
I move that we approve the color palette that presented today.
Second from Kima. Any other discussion? Okay, do we need a roll call?
We do. Mr. Griffiths,
Yes.
Mr. Truca,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Ms. Yandell.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, to
Good idea.
Mr. Druga's point, it's probably just worth making a note about just kind of what we're using as color guidelines. I get the point about bright colors from the historical perspective. That makes sense.
If we don't have a palette or anything to go off, and it's not
I
blending.
was gonna say, yeah, I mean, I know there was a palette at one point in the past, back in the days of the design review board, whether that still exists or not, but it might be something we wanna think about updating or.
It might take some of the subjectivity out of it.
Right.
Right. We are launching the design guidelines I was going to mention later, but we can talk about that. We generally recommend that the applicant find a historic color palette and send us the link so we can see the color within that palette.
Yeah.
And that's, the communication that we do, and to bring it to us is timely so we can get it to you. This project, I think they were planning on painting in the spring anyway, so it hasn't, been sitting there.
All right, let's move on to 125 East Water, which is the signage for Lake Erie Shores and Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This structure is a contributing structure in the downtown Sandusky Commercial Historic District. A little bit of history on this building. It was built around 1870. It's considered one of Sandusky's older downtown buildings, and back in its original days in the late 1800s, this was a hotel. Let's see here. The important features mentioned in the 1979 state inventory state that the Victorian bracketed cornice on the first floor, the mildly rounded arch windows with accents on the second and third floors, painted iron pilasters on the first floor entrances, and the arch panels over the large windows on the first floor are all significant features. The applicant, the Shores and Islands, Ohio, proposed to place new marquee signage on the facade facing East Water Street and also facing East Shoreline Drive. The proposed background color of these signs is white. The Sandusky Preservation Design Guidelines state that white background in signs is strongly discouraged. With no clear administrative approval process, staff is bringing the sign to the Landmark Commission today for further analysis. Staff talked with Brady Signs, one of the agents involved with this project, explaining the guideline requirements. Brady Signs met with Shores and Islands, Ohio, and they responded to Brady Signs that they wanted to go forward with the white background. So the proposed design is consistent with our guidelines with simple graphics and simple messages. The shapes are appropriate. The colors are not fluorescent, and the colors included are primary, not flashy, except for the white background. Overall, staff approves the granting of the certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions, and that's that the signs are updated to a non-white background, which meet the guidelines.
And I'll mention just a couple of things. Shores and Islands has been really great working with us through this project. They've got new signage on the front and the back, which was administratively approved, and originally had different backgrounds. We worked with them to make sure that they could maximize their font size and everything. And then it came down to the marquee. Sandusky Segwave had a marquee signage downtown that had a white background previous. I don't know what staff or commission approved that one. But since the guidelines say they strongly recommend against it, we wanted to make sure we brought it to you if you move to approve this. I do think from the visual perspective, that white background it draws your eye really clearly, and the reason the historic guidelines would recommend against it is because the building features are supposed to draw your eye the most strongly, and that's the reasoning I would presume on a white background. And my suggestion was that they just flip this and put the dark blue as the background and the lettering as white, but they wanted to bring it to you as the white background to see if you've thought differently.
Just from memory, and I wasn't on the commission when the Segway sign was approved, but I know there have been conversations since I've been on the commission saying that it wouldn't be approved under the new guidelines, for what it's worth. Okay. Amanda, do you want to come and talk to this, or either way?
Sure. Hi, I'm Amanda Smith-Rasnick, Destination Development with Shores and Islands, Ohio, and Larry Fletcher, our president.
Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having us. Yes, as Aaron said, we've been through quite a process with our signage. Grateful to have the actual facade sign's been approved, and now the marquee sign. And if I refer to it as a blade sign, that's how internally we've been referring to it. So just know it's interchangeable. But basically, we wanted to stick with the white background. And it goes back to our rebrand. Shores and Islands, Ohio is our new name, our new logo. Just trying to stick with our branding and being consistent with those guidelines, which I do have our logo guidelines here if you'd like to see those. So it is being consistent with that, trying to get our brand recognition out there. This would be our only location that would be outside the building with our signage that would be consistent with our logo. We do have some on the window, however, having that, especially with our vehicular traffic, but more or less, and more importantly, is the pedestrian traffic, being able to identify where our building is and having that signage there. But particular with the white background, we are repurposing the signs that are from the Sandusky Segway, so those will be being moved over. So one on the front and one on the back of our building, which is a big cost savings for us. They will not be illuminated as they are with the Segway, so that will decrease the, I guess, the high visibility that you would say that the white would draw. So that will not be the case in that regard. So we feel that it is consistent with our branding, but I'll turn it over to Larry to see if he has anything else that he wants to.
I think that it was mentioned that with the white background, the signs would be highly visible, which is what we want. I mean, we want people to,
Exactly.
we want people to know where we are. And the marquee sign was especially important to us, in addition to the one that's on the side of the building, because when people are down by the fountain or in front of the State Theater, when that gets reopened, or on that corner, we want them to be able to look over and clearly see, oh, that's where Shores and Islands, Ohio is. Last summer, I remember being out in front of our building, and there were some people walking along the sidewalk looking for us, and they asked me, where's the Welcome Center? Isn't it here somewhere? And it's like, it's right there. I mean, we were right next to it, but, so that sign would certainly, solve that issue. So it is the visibility we're going for, and I didn't know actually that the Segway sign was approved under a different set of rules. That's why I thought that this was going to be a slam dunk, so to speak, because that one was there. And then across the street from us, Wake Up and Waffle. Now that's not a marquee sign, it's on the side of the building, but that's a white background with their logo. So it's not that it won't be consistent with other things that are here. So that's all I would have to say, is that that's our goal, is to make this as visible as possible without detracting from the aesthetics of the area, sir.
Any other additional questions we can answer?
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I've got some more thoughts about this whole process and how we even got to here, which doesn't really require y'all standing up here, because it's not really questions for y'all. It's more to the city and to the rest of the commission. So I have no questions, but I'd like to hash it out.
I just think that it puts us in an awkward situation when you already have one sign in the front of the building that has a white background, one across the street. I'd be very reluctant to insist that it be changed in this particular case.
Is Wake Up and Waffles approved?
I don't know, not since
I don't
I've been
remember.
here,
I don't recall
I
that
don't remember
sign.
it
that business existed before both of us were in this role.
Yeah, so all the signage on that building's come through the.
Well,
it's
they
come
changed,
through
they
the
recently
sign
changed
process.
it all, but not
Oh, did
that. Yes, we approved the changes
Some of those changes, yeah, through,
like a year,
Yeah, but when the
Those are
building.
the
was-
marketplace
the main, the
signage.
market.
Yeah.
Those were the market.
Yeah, when the marketplace building was originally built, that signage was approved to come through.
Wake Up and Waffle wasn't an original facility there.
Right. So, yeah, I'm not
It was
sure.
the Bell,
I'm not sure.
so it wouldn't have been part of that.
Right.
so really my question is to the city, in terms of the guidelines, right? It's my understanding that we all volunteer our time, right, to represent the coordination between the city and the community, and because we all feel like we have some valuable input. Am I right in that assessment that we are allowed to interpret the guidelines and make a one-by-one, one-off decision, right, when the community comes to us?
Yeah.
Then, okay, then,
Yeah, we can approve exceptions to the guidelines.
yeah. So, and I thought so, I just wanted to
Yeah.
reconfirm that for today's purposes. I look at the sign, I look at the graphic design of it, the scale of the sign, and I think it looks great. I myself have wondered in the past, even though I live here, why the Welcome Center wasn't more visible. So, and you already spoke to that. So I like it. I guess my only really question, and this isn't really directed at Shores and Islands, is just about a downtown Sandusky signage and awning issue that I notice is that what is really like the maintenance, for this, because it's gonna weather and it's gonna show imperfections more quickly, right? Because of a white background. So this isn't directed at you. I'm always surprised when any business anywhere, but especially in downtown Sandusky, allows the weathering and the tarnishing of the signs or awnings where, a simple power wash and a little good elbow scrub would really make a big difference. And so when I see a white sign, it's really just, I have a maintenance question. And I assume because you guys do everything so well and, intently and intelligently with some elegance, that then you already have a plan for that and you will keep it clean. That's really all I have.
There are 3 people that work for us that all will be able to reach that from a safe spot on a 6-foot ladder. And I'll be one of them, so.
I was about to ask that question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
We have representation also from Brady Sign as well, that they have a great reputation of their signage and
absolutely.
upkeep, et cetera, built very well, but absolutely, Larry's correct. We're very conscious of keeping the area, the space very clean and welcoming. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Do you feel if it was swapped, if the letters were white and the background was blue, it would really blend in so much it wouldn't be as significant? I mean, I'm reading guidelines saying strongly discouraged. It doesn't say no.
yeah, these are previous versions of this in other colors, and we looked at all these and we got some of the team together and we kind of said, and that our goal was what's going to look the nicest and be the most visible. And so, yeah, there are some design standards that say that the blue on the white is going to show up better in different light levels.
Yeah, absolutely. We did it in a blue background when we can, and also in a gray background, which not only does it, blends in, it's just not, it's not what we're trying to achieve
not
overall.
popping.
So while this was kicked back to us and we worked with Brady Signs to find the alternative, ultimately, this is why we're here, is in order to get the white background. So it was considered, but
I move that we approve the sign as submitted.
I second.
Any further discussion?
I'm open to discussion. Yeah.
I guess my only thing is maybe we would add to the motion that we're doing this on an exceptional basis and not necessarily saying we're going to do this all the time going forward.
I think that's fair. I mean, that was really my intro, just trying to test the waters of, we're all trying to do the right thing here.
My thought also would be, in this situation, we want this facility found. It's not a restaurant. It's
Yeah,
not
sure.
a private financial gain for anybody, and it makes sense. But I would not want somebody to say, because the sign across the street is white, I want my sign white going forward.
Absolutely.
Don't think I would, at this point, do another sign that has a white background.
What,
After this.
and not that this, your answer bears any weight on my decision here, but, you know, when you're coming off the interstate on Milan Road, right, and you see shores and islands, is that going to be updated as well? I mean, do you have plans that, is all the signage that you have in this region, it's all, you know, you have plans for, it's all happening, right? So it's,
yeah,
I
it's
would
all
imagine so.
happening. And the signs at 2 and 250 have already been updated.
Okay. I didn't know.
Currently, there's signage at 53 North in Port Clinton that's being updated. But yeah, Water Tower in Huron has already been updated. Everything is
Yeah.
in that
Now,
process.
does it all look like this?
Yes.
So it's all,
Oh, yes.
so it's,
Brand consistent.
yeah, so, you know, I think that alone, and I agree with Kima, great point, like, we need this, right? I think we're all in agreement, we
It's
want
good
you
for the
guys to be
town.
found, and, you know, and that's why I'm sitting there,
Yeah.
I just, excuse me, I didn't notice one off 250 just
We
yet.
wouldn't leave even if it was blue, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, I think it looks great.
And Kima, yeah, she did make a really great point. We aren't a restaurant. We aren't for profit. We are trying to be visible to help the visitors, the residents here to visit our welcome center. So
Just procedurally, we probably just need to vote on the amendment to the original motion. So the proposal would be that we amend the original motion to add the language on an exceptional basis.
I would feel good with that. Just-
Okay, so I'll move that. Can I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, can we have a vote on the amendment?
Mr. Griffiths,
Yes?
Mr. Trucco,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Ms. Yandell.
Yes.
Okay, and then, any further discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote on the overall approval.
Mr. Griffiths,
Yes?
Mr. Trucco,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Ms. Yandell.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank
you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to 118 West Washington Street. There's a lot of stuff in this one, but staff are going to kind of work through the whole thing, and then we can come back and pick it apart if we need to. Okay, go ahead, Al.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is for exterior alterations and building additions at 1118 West Washington Street. This is a contributing structure in the National Register of Historic Places. It's on the corner of Shelby and West Washington Street. A little bit of background on the property. It was built around 1890. It's an outstanding example that still exists of a commercial building of this time period. When it was originally built, it was one of 68 individually owned grocery stores in Sandusky, which was around the 1890 period. And the grocery store was run by its original descendants or descendants of the descendants until it was closed in the 1980s. The structure was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1982, and there are 7 scope items on the agenda tonight, or excuse me, 6 scope items, and those are windows, porch material alteration, doors, fence, exterior lighting, and then also paint color. So we'll start with the first scope item, which is the windows. The applicant is seeking to make window alterations, which include new facade openings. If you look on the screen, it's the highlighted windows. And there's also a third, if you look at the bottom left corner of the screen, a new transom window location. There's also going to be replacements of dilapidated windows throughout the property. There's plans to uncover the storefront windows, which has been completed, and then also to add UV tint to the storefront windows. Scope number 2 is the porch railing material. The applicant is seeking to replace this material, which is currently wood, with a vinyl fencing. The design that was given to staff from the applicants on the screen on the right. Item number 3, doors. The applicant is seeking to replace the front double doors. The door shown on the left, the green doors, is a temporary door in place until the commission gives this applicant further guidance. The applicant stated with staff that the previous door did not latch properly, which would cause security concerns for the property. So the scope of the doors is to replace the double front doors on the north side, the double currently stock doors that's in place currently, and then replace the eastern and southern facing door, their secondary access doors. And then to paint these doors a native henna green, which we will touch on later on in the report here. Item number 4 is fence. If you look at the map here, what is shown in blue is going to be a wrought iron fence replacement of what's existing, which is barbed wire, chain link fence, approximately 5 to 6 feet tall. And then the red is going to be wood. And then the green, the applicant's asking for it to be vinyl, used for privacy and entrance of the southern and eastern doors. Item number 5 is exterior lighting. The applicant's looking to add up and down lighting on the east, north, and west facade, and then also to add a metal farmhouse style, as the applicant stated to staff, over the double front doors on the north side. Item number 6, to the right, is the paint color, which is proposed as a native henna green. Some of this painting has been completed, including the double doors here, and there's a smaller door to the left on the north facade, and then also the fascia at the top of the north facade has been painted already. To staff comments, you have something to say?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Start over. For the windows, the openings, the builders indicated these windows are being installed to meet code standards for egress from the first floor units. Staff has determined these window additions are appropriate and do not impact the character defining features nor direct too much focus to the secondary elevation that these windows are being added to. The placement of the windows per the guidelines, staff recommends lowering the window placement as proposed to align with the existing first floor windowsill. This would cause separation in the existing window and sill of the small utility window, and hence it would preserve what was proposed to remove that windowsill under the existing utility window.
So I'll jump in. I just want to
Sure.
reiterate what Alec just said, and I can show you on the screen here. So let me see if I can get it. Okay. So the 2 new windows are highlighted. They need to cut those holes in the facade in order to add egress to the first floor units. It's totally appropriate to do that. They're not anything crazy fancy. That's what the guidelines would recommend against, but just creating new openings is fine. What we were looking at, and I think that the architect that's working on this is here tonight, can speak on it, is the small window on the front. Where'd my mouse go? I just had it. There we go. So this window that's closer to the north side of the building is existing, and it does have a stone lintel. And so our question was, could they leave that alone? It looks like in this drawing that sill is taken out and the window is connected to it. Could they leave a gap there so the historic window is left alone and the new window is a little lower, and then bring both of those windows down to align with the storefront windows, just to help with that alignment? When we talked to the applicant, she said she wanted to make sure everything was aligned, and they were she was in conversation with the architect on what the best is. So this was not the final drawing, but she wanted to hear from Landmarks first. So go ahead.
To the window placement, which, I already touched on that. The window material, we spoke with the applicant originally. She was proposing a vinyl window to match the current vinyl windows that are in place. Our guidelines recommend to not follow that approach. in any new windows to follow the new guidelines. So staff talked with her and she was okay with transitioning the original vinyl proposal to aluminum clad white to match the windows. The sill material, the guidelines state to match existing material features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing of other window sills on the structure. And then as far as the tint is concerned, windows shall be consistent with historic character of the building. Staff requested more information in order to get a recommendation, to give a recommendation on the window tinting request. Desired details include a better understanding of the level of the opacity, level of mirror finish, and then also the precise image example of a proposed finish. Without that, staff didn't have a clear guidance on if that was appropriate or not. The porch railing material, the use.
Before you skip from windows, I just want to throw in a couple more comments. So when we talked about the replacement of the windows, I was like, we're not going to support vinyl, and I don't think the commission will support vinyl. We haven't done that. It's just not, that material wasn't invented at the time frame. She's really excited about owning a historic building and really excited about learning about the guidelines. It was like, yeah, you tell me, what do I need to do? So just so you have that context, and she was totally willing to put in aluminum clad windows, similar to the door conversation. I think those temporary doors that they put in, she was thinking we're gonna stay there, and after we talked to her, she understood, oh wait, no, I do need to get a wood door or something, we'll look at that. So the flexibility has been great in that conversation. The storefront tint, she lives in Texas, she has roots in Sandusky, she's gonna be in town looking at the building here soon, but she said it's just like what everybody does, they put some tint on their window to keep the sun out of the building because it's gonna fry everything that's inside. She doesn't wanna put curtains on the inside or something like window coverings, she just wanted a little bit of tint to keep some of the sun out, and I'm having trouble, we both looked into it, of understanding what does that look like. I was like, well, you gave us a really suburban, like 1980s office building to look at. That's not, like, can you find a historic picture? And so we talked about it, was just unclear. Like the new small city windows almost look like they have a little bit of mirror finish on them, but I don't know if they do. So we just didn't really get a great answer for that for you today.
Okay.
For the next item is the porch railing material. The guidelines state the use of wood, cable, or metal materials is appropriate and indicate that vinyl is not an appropriate material. The doors, the guidelines encourage the use of wood or metal materials for privacy. The guidelines do not deem vinyl as appropriate material. Staff recommends a pair of wood glazed doors with no buttons for the front double doors. In the picture, there are a few examples. The existing smaller door that's green on the right side, that style of glazing, or all the way to the right, a double-sided door of, that glazing style would also be appropriate.
So the black and white photo you're looking at that's all the way to the right, the appropriate replacement door, that's from the national standards on how to do a replacement door for a storefront. And then the one just left of that has the awning in the photo, that's a side door on the front facade on this building that's existing today. So we were pointing to both of those as a style guide for the new front doors.
And then for the secondary access doors on the east and south facades, staff, per the guidelines, deem an all-wood, steel, or glazed metal door as appropriate for those. To the fence, the guidelines encourage the use of wood or metal materials for privacy fencing and security fencing. They do not deem vinyl as an appropriate material. The exterior lighting, the guidelines encourage to use small lighting fixtures with a simple design with fixture heads not exceeding 12 inches in height and to avoid excessive brightness. Staff would like to obtain more information per the request of the exterior lighting from the applicant to give a better recommendation on an up and down exterior lighting, and also the farmhouse style light. Based on the examples given, there's not enough information on brightness or size to really have a good perspective on that. Last but not least, the paint color. The guidelines encourage the use of heritage colors and to avoid harsh or bold colors. Staff has determined the proposed native henna green is appropriate. Staff commends the owner's investment in this historic structure. It's been vacant for quite some time. It's a really important piece to our history here, and just a beautiful building. I have the pleasure of driving by it every day, so it's exciting to see things happening there, and we're really grateful that she's going forward with this. Overall, staff supports the project and recommends the granting of the certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. And that is our standard, all applicable permits are obtained through the building, engineering, and planning departments or any other applicable agency prior to construction. Our second recommendation is window replacements and new window additions are aluminum clad or wood. Like I stated, the applicant stated that that's what she plans on doing, but just for safety measures, we're going to put that as a condition. This includes new window replacements being sized appropriately to fill the existing facade openings and entirely without filler material. Condition number 3 is that all existing windows, the existing windowsill of the smaller lower story window on the west facade is preserved as is. Possible to accommodate the new window placement below it. Item number 4 for our conditions is window additions on the west are aligned with primary features on the west facade, including the existing small window on lower story, upper story windows, and storefront windows. Item number 5 is the porch railing is either wood, cable wiring, or a metal material. Condition number 6 is the storefront door uses a historically appropriate design and material. And condition number 7 is that all proposed fencing is either metal or wood. And then there's a 8th that the staff is adding on is that new window sill matches the material size proportion massing of existing window sills. And then staff suggests further supplementary information be obtained before the approval of the following items, and that is the exterior lighting as proposed and the window tint as proposed.
Questions, comments? Thoughts?
It's going to be a beautiful building when they're done.
Yeah, I love that building. I looked at it buying myself. I was going to turn it into a world-class jazz club. That was the vision I had for it, but I'm serious.
I have no doubt.
Mr. Wickman was a friend of mine. I used to go there and get candy and soda back in the late 80s before it closed. Yeah, always been fond of that building. I think most people in the city are.
We have the building owner on Teams, and I can patch her in when you all are ready to
Perfect.
hear.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that now.
Do you want to do that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Can you unmute and see if we can hear you, Carrie?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yay! I can actually see that my face is on. Like you can see my whole face right there. That's all we're doing. Am I on like another gigantic TV as well? So I want to say thank you very much, and I believe that Mr. Pike is in the room with y'all today, and so he might be able to better explain some of the windows and what we've discussed on that. I did want to touch on a couple of the items as well. The back patio, I'm not sure, maybe it was suggested that we have vinyl on there. I'm not planning on putting any vinyl on that back patio. So there must be a miscommunication in that. It's already been It's already been, the structure of it has been taken care of because it was nearly dilapidated and falling through. So it has been fixed and repurposed and fixed up. So it is wood. My only concern that I have is just the height of the railing. So I do want to make sure that it fits within the code of the railing. So I'm not sure if more wood needs to be added to that for the height. That would be the only additional change that we would make to the back patio, the balcony up there. As far as the lighting, I did have one of my friends up there drive, because I'm in Dallas, like I said. I did have one of my friends drive by, and the lighting that is on the Water Street Financial building, that is, I believe it's about the exact same that I'm proposing. So it's about a 12-inch single metal cylinder that will go up and to accentuate the brickwork and all of the dental work that's around the building, and then also going down onto the street to accentuate just the height and the brick of the building. I'm definitely not trying to make this look like, Christmas Vacation or anything like that. I just want some nice ambient lighting going around the building for not only the building itself to accentuate it, and then also for the safety of the the people that we've got going in and out of the building. The other thing that, let's see, what was the other thing? As far as the fencing's concerned, my ideal would be the vinyl on the inside just because of maintenance, but I do understand the historic value of not having that there, so I do get that, and I can do wood. I do those items are basically to have just an outdoor space for both the upstairs and the downstairs area. So having the proposed wood, like Alec and Aaron and I have discussed, will be fine for me. Those are the main things I was going to just touch on, and then I'm not sure if John's available to speak on the windows as well and how that will work architecturally. That is above my pay grade.
Mr. Fite, do you want to? I think the issue is the alignment of those windows on the side, is that correct?
Yeah, just a question of,
Well, two items there.
ahead.
One is the one window that has the stone top, you wanted to save the sill. The sill, it's a masonry sill, sits on a masonry wall. We'll take the masonry wall out, the sill will not be self-supporting, so that won't be able to stay.
okay.
Second item is the height. Those are bedrooms, those two rooms are. The front is an office, and so the existing windows, because it was a storefront for grocery before, is down close to the floor. If you want your bedroom in there, the last thing you want is your bed to be up above the windows, so lining those windows up would not be appropriate.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions for either Ms. Haskins or the architect, Mr. Fite? No?
The tint is.
Yeah, I guess,
Tint, yeah, that's-
sorry, Carrie, the question is on the window tint, just what you're looking for there.
So the tinting idea, I believe on dailies, there's some tinting on those windows where it darkens the windows going in. So that front space that currently the storefront is going to be an office, a small office area. And the idea is for transient to not be able to see into the building because there will be equipment, and I don't want them to look in and see something that is not in the most kept way. And so having some tinting on there, and then also not allowing for, I live in Texas, so we're very heat conscious and sun conscious. And so it's just a very normal thing here. But if there's an alternative, we don't have to do the mirrored thing, but the tinting, having a nice deep tint on the windows so that you can't see into the building as easily. If we have to do, like I said, if we, I don't want to take away from the history of this building. That is the last thing I want to do. I want to preserve as much of it as possible. That's the entire reason why I fell in love with this building versus the other ones that were an opportunity. So if the tinting is a major issue, we can definitely put curtains over it. I just feel that the tinting, I think the curtains would take away from the beauty of the building versus the darker tinting.
Can we get a sample? Sample window?
Is that possible?
Sure, we can get a sample.
Okay, I would suggest maybe, this would be my suggestion, if you can get a sample just to staff to have a quick look at, and we can kind of make that an administrative procedure rather than waiting for a whole nother meeting to look at that.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, we're not thinking something that's opaque. Now,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
window, but it's opaque, but it's tinted, so yeah, you can see shadows in there.
Right.
But you can see through.
The Dailies example gives me pause. I just would love to hear what you all think about it. So I have had conversations with other staff and other friends while walking past there and being like, what a shame. You can't see in those windows. It really detracts from that corner. And I wish that Dailies windows were less opaque. So, and I know that we specifically asked Carrie to find a local example. And so I don't want to throw her under the bus
No, I
for
understand that.
mentioning that
I
one.
guess the question is the level of
Yeah, that's the biggest question is like
reflection
how.
from that window. I don't think anybody wants to see like a really bright, full mirror reflection, but
Right,
And
if
what
it's
I
a
heard-
Lexus car window reflection, that's going to be bad. I mean, that is a tint. If you,
Yeah.
it's actually called, that's a
is
tint
this
color.
is this a film on the window, or is it the glass itself is treated?
I don't know that it's been determined, because we can get film to put over the glass, or we can get a tinted glass if these units need to be made and I'm not sure the direction they've gone. I haven't talked to the contractor yet to see what he was doing.
Okay, all right. Anybody have thoughts?
Yeah, my only
I'm open.
reservation is not that they're going to tin them, but that if it's how they're going to tin them.
Yeah, if it's a tint, it can come off future-wise too, then I think that's less permanent.
I certainly get the argument from a privacy perspective
Oh,
on that
absolutely.
street corner with an office, that totally makes sense, so, you know, it's, Kara, the issue for us is it's relatively new in the sense that most of the other kind of offices, well, there are other offices that certainly have tints on the windows. Thinking of a couple of the loan offices on Washington, and there are others downtown, so. Okay. All right, well, we'll have a conversation. Are you planning on staying on?
Yeah, I would like to hear if there's
Okay.
any other
All right.
conversations. I can mute myself.
Yeah, and feel free to jump in if there's anything that you want to add. I think from kind of maybe just going back, we'll deal with these things one at a time. In terms of the window replacements, are there any questions, comments, thoughts?
I'll mention that we did phrase the conditions on that to give the contractor and the architect flexibility, because we weren't sure from the interior perspective if aligning the windows differently made any sense. So that's why we specifically said like aligning in feature, size, scale, and proportion to existing windows. So that gives them flexibility as needed. And the reason that like 2A is in there, the windows replacements being sized appropriately, is how often you see like the window opening being filled with a stock window and then like patching wood in. I didn't think that that was what they were doing at all in this case. I just want to make sure we were explicit about it because it's happened in some other buildings in the past.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Any comments on that? Thoughts? Okay. So that really takes care of kind of obviously one is standard, two.
What are we actually approving? Because we're
Well,
not doing.
we're gonna wind
vinyl.
up approving essentially all the staff recommendations and/or making changes to them if we need to. Three is the sill, so that,
And that just says is preserved as is possible. And if he's saying it's not possible, then you
Right.
could strike it or you could leave it there.
I mean, if the contractor can take his bulldog hammer drill with the right chisel, you might be able to clean that up, right? I mean, you can clean up masonry and reuse bricks. I do it all the time. You can damage it. So I'm just saying, if it could be preserved and reused, great. If not, it might be damaged and, you know.
it can't be preserved where it is what,
No, I know. I meant like, but brought down
Brought
and
down and
reused.
somewhere else.
Yeah, well, just in that, because the window, just if we can reuse it, the great. If not, you know,
Yeah.
like staff recommendation, do as best you can to match it, you know, that's totally reasonable.
So we would scratch four in terms of alignment, correct? Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that makes sense, and it's on the Shelby side, right? If it was on, a little bit different, but, you know, obviously the front facade is the entire, so on the side, I agree with Mr. Fike, you know, that's logical and makes sense.
okay. Owner has already said porch railing, she's happy to do, it's already wood, correct?
Yeah, and Alec and I talked about that. Did she say that was going to be vinyl? I'm not sure. And we had this picture, but we
Okay.
just had a conversation with her. And so it was our misunderstanding
Okay.
on the porch.
The
railing.
original application had vinyl called out, so just to be sure.
Storefront door, I'm now getting to the point where I've forgotten what was said. Storefront
So
door.
that,
Go ahead,
currently
Kim.
we've got, I apologize. Currently we've got two vinyl doors just on there that are painted the same color as the original door to the left of the building. Ideally finding some good antique securable doors.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Securable wooden doors is what we would like. And if we can have some kind of just simple wood doors on there, that would be the ideal situation. So I am on the hunt for that. Currently, we just have those because we've got machinery and equipment and things in there, and we're unable to secure the building through those front doors.
Okay. And then we're talking about fencing, being metal or wood as opposed to vinyl.
I mean,
Any comments on that or questions, thoughts?
yeah, I would say no vinyl, right?
You would say, sorry, say again?
No vinyl.
No
No
vinyl.
vinyl.
I
You know,
agree.
where you can. You know, you're going to a lot of great effort here to beautify this building. I think you start putting vinyl on it, and you're really just taking away from all the good stuff that the building has to offer. You know, I mean, if you're open to using metal and wood lightly where it makes sense in terms of privacy, you know, I think that'd be the way to go for the overall beautification of your project. But at the end of the day, that is just my opinion, and that's all it is just an opinion.
I did have a question about the stain color, because in the write-up, it did say stain to I forget the exact terminology. And so I don't know if that is just the pressure washed color, or if that's a darker stain, a whitewash, or what exactly that entails as far as stain coloring is concerned.
So our guidelines, as far as wood or metal fences being painted, is to match the building. Typically, it's the secondary color, so the windowsill color. So this case would be white. There's not a firm guidance other than that, but that's traditionally what we've used so far.
Okay.
So yeah, if you paint the fence white to, any wood fencing being white to match the trim or being a natural wood color would be appropriate according to the guidelines.
Okay, that's what I need. Thank you.
Okay, and then the exterior lighting, any comments or questions on the lighting? I would just say, it looks very, very similar to the lighting that Bob Hare has on the parking lot side of his building, which, if it sounds like it's similar to that,
Yeah.
I'm not bringing
Or
the,
the building at the corner of Hancock and, is it Scott? You know, the brick building, the three-story brick building, they have the light, really, it's.
Yeah, those
Oh,
are
yeah.
like, those are like the farmhouse style, I think, kind of the globe that she was, and that's
correct.
the ones that we approved at Saucy and at Morgan Wadding are both like that farmhouse style. And that's what I'm assuming Ms. Haskins was describing for the front door. And the up-down lighting, it sounds like she specified 12 inches, which Alec pointed to 12 inches in the guideline. So I think we're probably square on the
so I think
lighting
we're good on
too.
the lighting.
As long as the lumens aren't crazy, then
Yeah.
you guys can
Yeah,
do
and then
that.
unfortunately, still don't have a brightness measurement in our
And-
guidelines, so.
But it doesn't, I don't think she's talking about lighting up the Space Needle
Right.
or anything.
Maybe, but no.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get Batman to come in, so that's not my goal.
And then on the window tint, I think, you know, I would maybe just encourage a conversation, continuing conversation with the staff on what that tint exactly looks like. I don't think any of us are opposed to the tint. The question is just kind of making sure it fits the character of the building and the neighborhood.
She does it on the interior, and it's a cling film, even if it's a more permanent one. That's out of our jurisdiction, isn't it?
I think we can,
Because that's inside.
like the window treatments.
That would be a
That's a great
treatment.
question, because
Because then
when,
it would
like,
take-
Moto Mortgage put up the screen on their window and that is removable, and that was in the guideline. We took that as an administrative approval,
Right.
like signage, because it was like an applique
So if
to
it's
the
addressed like
window.
that, it's not a permanent change,
Yeah.
and it would be,
I think a film applied to the interior of the windows would not.
yeah.
So Carrie, you following that?
I am. I don't want to find loopholes in anything, so that's definitely not my goal. But if the film would be an ideal situation just because it's much less expensive than having tinted windows created, especially for the size of those windows.
Yeah.
So having a film will be ideal. I will be up there next week at the latter part of next week. And so I will definitely drive through and see other buildings. And so I can show you exactly what I'm looking at and bring that to y'all's attention. So
I think we could get to a comfortable level on that if you want to give it to staff.
Yeah.
My concern from like a walkability and like a historic design perspective would be looking at it as trying to find the lightest application of a tint that's going to suit the applicant's needs, but still preserve the opacity of the structure. Because one of the reasons why we feel really comfortable and inspired to walk around historic districts is because you can see in the windows. And you'll notice a lot of design guidelines in cities will force first floors to have windows, even though like a CVS, they'll put a bunch of displays where you can't actually see in, but
Right.
it's the glazing that's important.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about that. The applicant has said all the right things, and, I think she's genuine, and she was smart enough to hire Mr. Fike, so she's 2 for 2 there, and she's open to working with the city, so she's 3 for 3. I mean, this is, I think this is a good thing. So I'm good deferring to the city.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to go backwards, but I was looking through the guidelines again. Going back to the exterior lighting, our guidelines do mention the use of incandescent bulbs, so no LEDs. I think this is kind of a way of limiting brightness possibly, so I would encourage maybe the commission use that language.
Or maybe if it's an LED, it's a warm.
Yeah, it's just a
It's
warmer
probably more
light
about
instead of a white.
Yeah, it says incandescent bulbs
It may be
specifically.
that language was written before LEDs.
It's possible.
We're really like commercial, or like available to your
Okay.
typical household. That's a good one to mark for update, though.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Can we not have sorry, is LED, can we have just that it's warm light? Just
Yes.
because there's.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that language is maybe out of date. So one of the
There's
things.
a high probability that it will be LED because they just last longer.
Right.
Yes. One of the things
Makes
we're doing as our organization is updating some of those guidelines because it's been a while since they were updated.
A
Thank you.
good call out.
Okay, I think then what we're looking for is a motion that approves this recommendation based on the staff guidelines excluding number 4. Or just striking number 4, taking that out entirely. Does that sound right? Okay. Someone would like to make,
So moved. I don't want to repeat myself.
do you have that, Ally? So what we're
Yeah, we
saying is
can-
we're going to approve this based on staff guidelines excluding item number 4.
Does that-
Striking that entirely.
Does that include the lighting?
That includes the lighting, yes.
Okay. And then the window tint is for,
And the window tint,
for staff?
No tint as opposed to film would be,
Would be a film.
'Cause you
well, I
could
think we're
just-
saying, we're going to throw the tint issue back to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so first, so staff could approve the tint and then report back to you.
Correct.
Okay, we can reflect that in the minutes if
Yeah.
that's
Is that-
your intended
Is everybody in
motion.
agreement?
Yeah, which helps the applicant keep this project going, helps the architect, helps the city, helps
Yeah.
us. So, that's.
Carrie, does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Any further discussion? Sorry, do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second? Okay. Any further discussion? All right, can we call the vote, please?
Mr. Griffiths,
Yes.
Mr. Truca,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Ms. Yandell.
Yes.
Perfect, that is approved. Thank you very much. Carrie, congratulations on the project, and look forward to seeing it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fike. Okay, we've got one administrative approval.
So this is for the wall signage mentioned with the marquee signage that's been presented on tonight. It was originally submitted as a package. Staff talked with the applicants who spoke with tonight to separate them so that we could not hold up their wall signage as part of their deal. So I already touched on the location and the history, so I'll skip over that and just keep it on the historic photo, and then also the signage that was approved. So what was approved is 2 wall signs, one on the north facade, one on the south facade. The one on the south facade is going to be all white lettering with no backgrounds. It meets our zoning code requirements as well as the back northern welcome center sign. The difference on the welcome center sign is it will have a black background and will be mounted to the porch there. So the black background's to kind of hide or blend in with the porch that's existing. Staff determined the proposed signage is a good quality and design, simple graphics and simple messages. The shape's appropriate, the colors are not fluorescent and meet our preservation design guidelines. And staff determined the signage meet the requirements, and we granted administrative approval on December 14th of 2022.
And stay on that for a second. I mentioned at the beginning of the other one, when we split them off, that they had worked with us on this. So the first proposal they got up for the front of the building was the white background with the blue lettering, and they worked with us to get this white lettering, which I think is a vast improvement to the original and a good example of why not approving, like being very specific case by case for white backgrounds is important, because this really showcases the beauty of the brick in the building, and it also highlights the Shores and Islands brand really well, I think on the front and the back, and it was a great collaboration with this applicant.
Perfect. Just a quick curiosity question more than anything else. What are they making and how are they attaching the lettering? Do we know?
That I don't know offhand.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
I want to say it was mounted, but I don't recall what style of mounting they used.
Okay. Good. Any questions? Nope. Perfect, thank you. Is there other business?
Do you have an update on the design guidelines?
Sure.
We have been working with, so we have a qualifications review process with registered contractors and consultants that send qualification package at the beginning of the year, and we can, for certain specific projects under $50,000, we can take a look at those and rank consultant teams based on their expertise and their vision. And we did that at the end of 2022 to start talking with Designing Local to contract with us to update our design guidelines. They have a really depth of passion and expertise for historic preservation. They have done a lot of design guidelines in other cities. They're also landscape architects and planners. They got almost basically like inherited another historic preservation consulting business that Nancy Reschke and Jeff Darby ran for 40 years all across Ohio, and they were like looking for young people to like pass their business to. And so they also have Nancy and Jeff as kind of their people they call to with this 40 years of experience. So I think they're going to be a great team. They've come up with a really tidy scope for us to propose, and we are bringing that to City Commission on Monday.
Okay.
So if any of you all would like to attend and say you think it's a good idea or give us any thoughts on how to be involved, but we have multiple layers of engagement with the Landmarks Commission, public meeting, and that basically the scope was already dictated in the grant proposal that we wrote to the State Historic Preservation Office. So we're following that, the scope that they would like to see, that SHPO would like to see, and we'll get off and running on that on Monday, assuming City Commission gives us approval there. So we're excited to move forward.
Good. So everybody can either, I cannot attend, but I'll send an email to.
And I'll probably send out a call so we will have public engagement probably at live landmarks meetings, so we're able to engage all of our landmark commissioners. But I might ask if there's, one or two or three of you that want to be a contact for this process to be involved more, throughout check-in calls and things like that. We can't do that with a quorum, but we could do that with a couple folks that are really interested in being, part of making sure we get everything we want to do.
Sure.
I'm open to it.
I was going to nominate you.
Well, guys, I like to talk, and I like to talk about buildings and really just talk about anything, so,
Good. Perfect. Anything else?
Before we leave, Quinn had put together just an updated contact list. So
Okay.
I know everyone's not here, but if you fork it, at least make sure everything's correct
Yep.
before you leave.
Will
And
do.
then-
And with that, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Next meeting is February